On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
But I do think that we own our shit. Like women, we know when we have a man that's a good man that, and good is subjective. Let's keep that real. It's based on how you perceive a man to be. And good doesn't always mean good to every woman. So, y'all think that a man, sometimes a man can be too consistent where it's almost like he a little bit like, I don't know, like crazy. Like, he's a little bit obsessive, almost stalkerish, right? And y'all be like, well, he always there, he always in your life, he doing everything. But it's like, well, he don't give me no time to move and breathe. Like, yeah, he can be smart, but he can be too damn smart when he condescending.
Do females ever admit when they lost a good man? It's a
The
lot of good
the
men out
women,
there. Do females ever
the
admit?
women.
Yeah, that's what I asked. Do
No,
Like,
women
you
ever
he
admit
said
when
female.
they lost a good man? We often hear about the woman saying, "Hey, you done lost a good one. Like you don't know what you missing. You don't know what you lost." We hear that all the time, but I just want to hear from a different perspective, and I want to know: do females ever admit when they've lost a good man?
what do women?
And Anton,
Okay, good.
I have spent, I have talked to a lot of people in my life, probably half female, half male. I've only met one woman in my entire life that admitted that she lost a good man, and she just so happened to be my hiking partner. She's like 60 something years old, almost 70 years old, completely different person from me. I've only had one conversation with her about this in our entire lives. She's my hiking partner, and she was speaking about a guy that she lost probably 35 years ago, bro. So to answer your question, I never hear women talk about how they lost it, even if they were the ones that, like, let's say that they did something like overtly wrong or extremely bad for the relationship. They got caught cheating or whatever like that. I never hear women, I never hear that as a part of the conversation that a woman has lost a good man from the woman that actually lost a good guy. I never hear it, bro. That's never a part of the conversation. That's never a part of our culture. We never discuss it. You don't see it on social media. It's either a guy lost a good girl or the relationship just didn't work out. It's never she lost a good man. I never hear that, bro.
yeah, I can agree with that. I don't think I ever heard a woman actually admitting that she lost a good man. However, have heard of men possessing like great qualities. That's something that I have heard, and that they, when they look back, that they wish that things would have worked out, but they never admit that he was a good man. Never heard those actual words.
They
But
remix it.
yeah, be next. Do females ever admit when they've lost a good man?
Yeah, I think so.
You
I
think or you
do.
know?
Well, I would say I know based on, I guess, my small sample size
So you have
of
women that have
conversation.
actually admitted that they lost a good man.
Yeah, yeah.
You sure?
But I think it's not like somebody's broadcasting this. Like I wouldn't either. But I think when you talk to people and we all have these life conversations. And much as I kind of earlier I talked about, like no one wants to have them, but the coulda, woulda, shoulda conversations, right? What I could have did, what I would have done, or what I should have done. All those, like the what if game, right? We all
Mm-hmm.
play that game with ourselves. But yeah, we're not friends now, but I think we used to be friends where we were talking. It was one of those where I think from the perspective she spoke about on who she was then versus who she is now. Like some people look at it, they're like, man, somebody say like, hey, I don't calm down a lot. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, some people, I don't say like they're naturally angry, but like you look at it that, hey, I did go 0 to 100 with situations that I could have probably handled differently, or I did have, because in this situation was one of those like youth, right? Where it's like, hey, I was mean. I understood you was good, but it was like, hey, I wanted what I wanted. Some people aren't at a point in their life that they want to compromise or even work out things, right? Some people is like either is what I said is what I said. And I think that since we're talking about women, I did have a conversation with someone that did talk about it from that lens that, you know what, I am more calm. I am more open. I am more understanding. I do try to not dictate a situation or a conversation, because I think that you wear people out that way. So I think that there are women that will talk about it. But the thing is, I think from this perspective, this was like one of those looking back on who I used to be type of situations after they have now kind of arrived at being a better, more mature person. I think that if you go through these transitions in your life, you could then look back in the rearview mirror saying like, yeah, that person, hey, Brandon, that version of Brandon, yeah. And I think women do that too. But that's talking to someone who has now transformed themselves into a new version of themselves. If you still the same person you was 10 years ago, you're never going to have that conversation, because that means that you're right and everyone else is wrong. It has to be a level for anyone. But if we're talking about women, an aspect of humility to be able to say, you know what, I messed that one up. I own it. But the thing is, who's going to broadcast that? It has to be with somebody that you trust to have that conversation with. Because that person that they messed over, they probably don't even know that, you know what, this person is now remorseful, because it's a pride thing that we hold on to.
Tawana, do women
Hold
ever
on,
admit
hold
that
on,
they
hold on.
lost?
Before we go to Tawana, and I do want to hear from Tawana, obviously. But did she actually say she lost a good one, or did she just say I should have done things a little differently? Because it's two different. It's a different perspective when you say I lost a good one versus, you know what, I could have done things a little differently.
I don't know. Shit. I don't know. I thought like they were both in the same. I mean, it's like,
No, it's a difference. I think it's a difference.
Well, ask me the question again.
Okay, so like I'll give you an example. Like
Okay.
a relationship could have not worked out with me and X woman, right? This woman right here. However, you know, I could go back and say, man, but you know what? I could have treated her differently. I could have operated different. I was a little crazy or whatever, so on and so forth. But I'm not necessarily saying I lost a good woman. I'm just saying that, you know what, I need to make some adjustments in who I am or whatever, but that's not necessarily admitting that they were a good person that I lost. I think it's a difference. I can go on the basketball court and be like, man, I should have crossed him over, or I should have took more jumpers. But that don't mean that I'm blaming myself for losing the game. Like, you know,
all right. Well,
it's a difference.
you know what? I own it. I mean, no names, of course, but it was a former relationship of mine where she was just like, yeah, I was mean. You know, like, yeah, I didn't care. I was reckless. You know, so the thing is, it was from the aspect of like, hey, I messed this up with you. But the thing is, to the point we was talking about earlier, there are people, as far as in a relationship, well, used to be in a relationship that are now exes that still coexist, right? That could still have a frank conversation with each other. So that was really a frank conversation that we had. You know, we all do the what if scenario, right? And then it'd be from that conversation, what kind of erected from it was that she had messed up, but I could have messed up too. But the initiator of why it didn't work at that point in time was like, yeah, it was just the fact, yeah, I was mean to you. And probably hadn't, and the thing is, it had nothing to do with me. A lot of people be having other issues going on where it's like, I'm just taking it out on you. It's not even about you. But the thing is, everybody got their own tolerance and stuff. So that was the part, like the mature version of her and me years later, we were able to chop it up and then talk through it like that. So it was like a missed opportunity.
Gotcha. Tawana, I'm coming to you. Do women ever admit that they lost a good man?
You know what? As rare as this happens, I believe that women definitely, as rare as it happens, that we just miss out on a good man. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we don't admit it. What I'm saying is that as rare as it happens that women miss out on good men, I believe that women absolutely take ownership for, like, hey, you know what? He was a good guy, and I just wasn't ready for it at that time. But I'm the type of person that believe in paths, and I believe in like faith, and I believe in like that wasn't your fate. Like if y'all don't work out, he's meant for someone else and y'all need to move on. And I don't believe in wasting people's time and being with somebody that you don't necessarily want to be with. But I do think that we own our shit. Like women, we know when we have a man that's a good man that, you know, and good is subjective. Let's keep that real. It's based on how you perceive a man to be. And good doesn't always mean good to everyone. So, you know, y'all think that a man, you know, sometimes a man can be too consistent where it's almost like he a little bit like, I don't know, like crazy. Like, you know, he's a little bit obsessive, almost stalkerish, right? And y'all be like, well, he always there. He always in your life. He doing everything. But it's like, well, he don't give me no time to move and breathe. Like, yeah, he can be smart, but he can be too damn smart when he condescending. And he's always criticizing and over analyzing every situation. And it's like, dude, you're not the right man for me. So good is not always good to everybody. Y'all need to understand that. And so just because he's a good man don't mean he's a good man for me. Maybe I need a man that's a little bit more chill and relaxed. And maybe, you know, just because you consistent don't mean that you're going to necessarily gel with me. So I feel like, yes, we know when we left up, when we know when it's a man that was like, man, he was so cool. Like he was a good guy. He was smart. He was intelligent. Like he was easygoing. You know what I'm saying? But like he didn't push me. And I felt like maybe I could find something better. And I think that it's nothing wrong with a woman feeling that way and feeling like, well, hey.
That is not what we talking about.
Yes, that is what we're talking about. We talk about a woman who feels like she has, no, and I'm not saying that we don't think that, you know, we don't know when we lost a good man. But I mean, like, I'm you know, I'm looking at my mental Rolodex. I don't think I've lost, you know what I mean?
No, that's not, no. Okay,
saying.
so take yourself out of it.
Good men. No, it's not just me. It's women in general.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question.
Let me tell you, women, we don't just be like, you know.
Okay, so.
He's so good to me. I'm going to leave his ass. You know, I can't stand his good. He's good
but
to
let
me.
me ask you a follow-up question.
That I need him to do. We don't do that.
The same way I asked B-Nix a follow-up question on what you just said. So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, right? Because and that's why I said take yourself out of it. Because you got girlfriends, you got friends, and all of that other type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think that everybody has some level of regret in certain things that they've done in their life. And I think that women are open to having conversations about things that they regret in their life outside of men. I think that there's men that women could have been in a relationship with, and they look back and say, man, I messed that up. But I don't think that they admit it. So in your circle of friends, not just you, but in the women that you've all had conversations with, that they at any point say, I regret not being in a relationship or continuing a relationship with him.
Yeah.
Not for their own self-growth and all of that, the women's empowerment thing, but just straight up, man, I messed that up.
Like
You've heard women say that?
No, I felt like, you know, I've had friends that's like, he was good to me. He, you know, he treated me well. He did this, he did that. But like, I was like mentally connected to somebody else or not ready for this. Like I've had friends that's been in situations like that and actually have admitted to me. I don't know if they admitted on a broadcast or Facebook, but they said it to me, you know, like, hey, you know, friend, like I feel like I messed up with this one. You know what I mean? Like I want to, you know, I don't want to go back to him, but I want to meet somebody else that's similar, right? So I feel like, yeah, I have had friends that's done that. So I don't know why y'all saying like women don't admit they wrongs. Like women do, but do we have, I mean, I have more friends that, you know, have dudes that played them and disrespected them and they regret dealing with those dudes. Like I have more friends that have those scenarios than I have friends that missed out on good dudes. That's what I'm saying. In the rare, you know, this question is so leading. That's why I don't like answering these questions because I'm like, you already trying to.
It's a direct, but it's a direct question.
It's an implication.
Do women admit when they mess up?
No, it's an implication that women don't, and I don't like that. Can I feel like it's already leading into the code. We don't do it.
But can I go back to but what Tawana mentioned was a good point where it's like, you know, again, moments, right? What the thing is like, hey, that's not what, you know, the woman may have wanted at that moment. So not to say that, because the thing is when we say, I mean, not we, but I'm assuming if a woman does say like, "Hey, I messed something up," we're looking at it based on like future tense. Like we're looking at it based on present day of where the person is, who this person turned out to be right now. You know, I think jokingly speaking, even though we're not talking about celebrities, wasn't it one of those cases where I think Pepper from Salt and Pepper was saying that about Will Smith, that she tried to get with Will Smith, shot him down or whatever like that? Because at that moment, based on, you know, that's why I mentioned earlier, youth and maturity, that's not what she wanted. Not to say it was something bad that necessarily happened. It just, the timing wasn't in it. Even with the example I gave, it was a youth thing, but also it was a situation at hand, the timing, the moment. A lot of times you may click with somebody, but you might not, based on just the moment in your life and where you're at.
Yeah.
And nobody is disputing any of that, what y'all saying. I agree wholeheartedly with both you and Tawana B. Nix. However, that is not the question. We are not deep diving into the reasons as to how you feel and whether.
Yes, women do it. They do. They do admit that they lost a good man.
And next, the question is, do women ever admit when they've lost a good man?
Yeah, and we gave both
Tawana and I
gave answers.
That was you. Okay.
And I gave you supporting
I know JR
need
to add. JR need to give his opinion, so I'm gonna just step back for a second.
Hey,
I feel like I've had people who said to me like, "This guy, he was so good to me in college." You know what I mean? Like, and they felt like, and this is just kind of like random girl talk in the lunchroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had people tell me all the time.
Yeah, what are y'all expecting? Like a Facebook post?
You know that. That remind me. It almost remind me of like a gambler. Like they'd be like, you know, they could go out and they could lose a bunch of money. They'd be like, well, I was just gonna spend that on this anyway. I just wasn't ready to, you know, move in this direction. I'm like, fam, no, you lost. Like you could have been a winner.
Well, maybe they just wasn't. Maybe that.
But you lost.
Wasn't ready for this. So.
How come people are just not direct? Be like, yo, I messed up. Like they got to give you know what? I was in a time in my life where I was just like,
yeah. But the thing is, like, okay,
maybe they didn't mess up.
You're assuming as if the person that they were with, they're still on talking terms. The thing is, what I'm gonna do? Hey, I haven't talked to you in like about 5 years, but I just wanted you to know, I got this L that I'm trying to own right now.
No, like, but there's a narrative that happens a lot amongst men where they be like, yeah, you lost a good girl. Like that is almost a thing in society where they like.
Oh, I know I did.
I know because y'all do.
That's what I'm saying. Like that.
Because y'all do. Y'all most of the time, y'all.
Right. So that's the reason that's not this question. The question is, do females, do women,
do women
admit?
In the rare cases that it happens, yes.
We're willing to have the conversation openly.
We answered the question.
We answered it.
I'm not even a woman, but I mean, I just based it on my example.
All right, so you said yes. You said they do.
You didn't ask how many.
You said they do, right? You said they do, right?
Do I? You the first. You asked me first, man.
I'm just trying to close it out.
What you taking notes?
You said they do.
I think that y'all.
I might be.
Maybe you don't surround yourself with enough women who are self-aware, and so that's why you don't hear women who tell you that they made a mistake and that they. And that's what it is.
I've heard it all the time. I hear it all the time.
So why you sitting here on this podcast talking about women don't admit?
But they dance around it. They dance around it. They don't admit it. They don't say it. They don't say, "Hey,
yep, you're right, Jr.
I lost out." Like they say things like, for instance, I had somebody reach out to me like years ago and say, "Hey, you know, now that I look back, I wish, you know, we were together. I wish that things had worked out."
Yeah, of course. Folks looking at you now. You got the little Lapeef. You got the podcast. You got the clothing. Of course. Yeah, folks in their feelings. They probably looking
at you. Cloud chasing.
Nick's is not all about that. Nick's. I had to give myself a little bit more credit. I'm a great man. I'm a great man.
That too.
And I bring a lot of value to my table. So
like,
with that being said, I can Yeah.
You know how many people
it is what it is.
Like, damn.
You know how many men call and say that stupid stuff? It's like, dude.
Say what? Say what?
Oh, you know, I wish we would have worked out, and I want us back, and I want us to work out. Like, come on, dude, get the hell on.
Right, but we hear it all the time. I just want to to twist
Women
it up a
do
little
it.
bit. I want to ask if the women do it.
Yes, women do it.
Okay.
We do it all
All
the time.
Okay.
No,
It's
they
not a
don't.
taboo.
No, they don't. No, they don't, Jr. You know what they do? And I've coached
We don't think that we missed out on a bad thing because
Yes,
most
y'all
of the
do.
time
Yes,
y'all
y'all
are
do.
terrible.
What it
Most
is,
of the
Jr.
time
And I've
you're not good. And so
coached
we don't
enough
need
women
good
to
men.
know. I've
You know
coached
what?
enough
All right.
women to
Hey,
know.
Anton always make like I hate when you do this. What data you got?
Right.
How many
Like,
focus
we don't
groups
need
you
good
done
men.
led? How
Women
many
are
focus groups you done
I've
led?
coached.
Buddy act like he's
Women
some
are
Survey
rational.
Monkey data.
We're rational. We don't need
I've
good
coached.
men.
No,
Most
and
of us
see,
are not
I'm glad you said that, Tawana, because that's exactly what I was going to speak towards. I've coached enough
I
women
thought
to
we
know
were wrapping
that
up this topic. Oh,
we are.
honestly,
And
like,
I've coached enough women to know that they rationalize within themselves to
Coach.
make themselves feel better about the circumstance.
Do they know that you calling that conversation coaching?
No, they know. They come to me because
You know what? I forgot. You're a savant. You're a man of many things.
But the point is that the reason why I'm able to make a breakthrough as far as them going to the next level in their life is because we get them out of the rationalization phase in order to make sure that the first step to
You
any
manipulate
problem.
them.
Yeah,
Hold on.
You make them believe
right?
that
Wait.
they
Book of Anton.
You manipulate the women
No,
to
this
make
is
them
coaching
think
them.
the way you think.
This is a standard.
Come
This is a
on,
standard
Coach James,
across
man.
life in general. The
Listen.
first step to going to the next level is to admit your faults within
Wait,
yourself.
where are you quoting this from?
Who is that a fault
That's
of?
applying to anything. You can
You
apply
have
it to
said that's
addiction.
a fault.
You can
Step-
apply it to
step one.
addiction. You can apply it to your financial success.
Because I let a
Your life.
person go that I
The
wasn't
first
good
step in going to the next level is first admitting the faults within the current phase
That ain't
that
no
All right,
fault.
you're
what's
in.
step 2 then, brother? What's
What's
step
step
Okay,
two?
y'all got it.
No, I forgot. You write down your notes before the show anyway.
No, I don't.
You be having your little cliff notes. And
I know
stuff
the
sitting in
difference
front of you.
between guys and girls is that, or
How
men
many
and
coaching
women,
sessions you
is
done had
that
this year?
the difference between men and women, when you're having direct conversations with them, when you one-on-one and there's nobody else looking and there's nobody trying to impress each other, is that men are more forthcoming in being direct in what it is that they've done wrong. And it's easier to work with them and get results quicker because you're able to more quickly identify the problem and solve for it. Whereas when I deal with women, a lot of times they rationalize their decisions and they like, I was at a specific place in my life,
admitted
all of
something.
this other type of stuff. And it's like, okay, so when we get past that, so what was the
Men
issue? Well, I was feeling a certain type of way. I don't know if I feel this way. Oh, okay. So when we get past that, so what's the issue? When you start removing the layers, and then eventually
I'm done.
Eventually they're like,
are you serious, JR? Really? Men admit their flaws? Are you kidding me?
No, that wasn't the question. JR, what was the
coached?
question again, sir?
That is such bullshit.
How many men have you coached?
Even you know that's the bullshit. Like,
How many men have you coached? I'm just wondering.
Hey, I ain't coaching nobody, man.
How many men have entrusted you by spilling how they feel
don't even
about
answer that,
their own
Tawana.
circumstances?
JR, in closing, do your thing.
I was
No, you know what? No, JR, just say this.
question.
D Nix is always in simp mode because he's trying to run for president, and he makes sure that he supports this narrative that is equal amongst the board.
I forgot you be having your audience on here and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's differences between women. I understand
if you guys,
how Tawana feels. I understand how Tawana feels because Tawana is a woman. So
Jay,
she's
I thought you
speaking
was
from a
wrapping the
place
show up, man. I
that women.
I got it.
I don't understand.
I'm always going to speak
the selfish behavior behind D Nix. Why are you protecting these people? And they are adults.
These people?
These women. Why are you protecting these women that don't need protection?
Bro, you see, that's the thing. You know what? You asked me a question. I gave you the answer. And
right.
Between you and JR, y'all never like none of my answers.
Damn, how I get thrown into this shit?
Dude, we've been on this show together since the pandemic, since March, when it first kicked off. And y'all two brothers still...
Hey.
They don't understand other.
With that being said, if you guys haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Hey, Anton, you better be lucky we don't live in the
let's
same city.
talk. Lapeef, let's talk.
It gets to a point where I'm face to face.
Just go on to YouTube, type in Lapeef, let's talk. Hit that subscribe. We appreciate you guys.